Everyone thinks Egyptian pyramids were built by slaves or aliens. Both claims are wrong. Here's the proof. Hollywood loves showing Hebrew slaves dragging stones under whips. Ancient alien theorists claim humans were too primitive. History textbooks quietly go along with both. None of it's true. The archaeological evidence is overwhelming. Here's what actually happened, and here's why everyone got it wrong. The slave myth comes from the Bible's Exodus story and the 1956 film The Ten Commandments. The alien theory? A 1968 book called Chariots of the Gods. Both ignore what archaeologists actually found at Giza. Egyptian records from the Old Kingdom mention 0 Hebrew slaves, 0 alien visitors, just Egyptian workers doing their jobs. So who built the pyramids? Paid Egyptian laborers, skilled craftsmen, seasonal farmers. Let me show you the receipts. First receipt, the workers' village. Between 1988 and 2005, archaeologist Mark Lehner excavated the settlement at Giza where pyramid builders lived. What he found destroys the slave narrative completely. Bakeries, massive ones, producing 4,000 loaves of bread daily. Brewery vats making beer by the gallon. Workers got 10 pints of beer per week as payment. Medical facilities treating broken bones from construction accidents. Respectful burials for workers who died. Tombs near the pyramids, not mass graves. This village housed 20,000 to 30,000 workers, mostly farmers working during Nile flood season, when fields were underwater. Rotating shifts, organized labor, not slave quarters, not alien landing pads. Workers' dormitories. The settlement layout proves this was a planned operation. Housing, food production, medical care. You don't build hospitals for slaves. You don't pay slaves in beer. Here's the kicker about that beer ration. 10 pints weekly. That's not survival rations. That's compensation. Ancient Egypt used beer as currency. Workers were literally getting paid. Okay, so that's archaeology. Now let's talk ancient paperwork. Second receipt, Merer's Papyrus. In 2013, archaeologist Pierre Tallet discovered papyrus fragments at Wadi al-Jarf. These are daily logs written by Inspector Merer, a supervisor during Khufu's pyramid construction around 2500 BC. Merer recorded everything: limestone deliveries from Tura quarries, work rotation schedules, ration distributions, routes his crew took transporting casing stones. This is bureaucratic record-keeping. You don't keep administrative logs for slave labor. The papyrus describes workers as teams with specific jobs. Stone haulers, ramp builders, supervisors. It mentions food supplies being distributed, work crews getting rest periods. This is organized, paid labor. Pyramid texts and tomb inscriptions back this up. Workers called themselves Friends of Khufu. That's what's carved in stone. Not slaves, not aliens. Friends of the pharaoh. Paid workers proud of their jobs. Ancient texts never mention Hebrew slaves during the Old Kingdom. That story comes from religious tradition, not Egyptian history. The timeline doesn't even match. Exodus supposedly happened around 1200 BC. The pyramids? Built 2500 BC. That's 1,300 years earlier. Aliens, slaves, or paid workers? Which myth did you believe? Comment 1 for aliens, 2 for slaves, 3 for neither. Now here's the scientific proof that seals it. Third receipt, the bones. In the 1990s and 2000s, Zahi Hawass and Mark Lehner analyzed skeletons from the workers' cemetery. What they found proves these people were cared for. healed fractures, limbs that were set properly and mended, evidence of surgery, primitive but intentional medical treatment. Workers who broke bones during construction got health care. Slaves don't get surgery. Diet analysis from the bones shows they ate meat regularly. Cattle bones were found throughout the village. Workers consumed protein-rich food. That's not slave rations. That's feeding people doing hard physical labor. Carbon dating of village artifacts confirms 2589 to 2504 BC timeline, exactly when Khufu's pyramid was built. The evidence all lines up. Paid workers, federal treated, buried with respect. Compare that to actual slavery. Where's the evidence of chains, whips, mass graves? It doesn't exist at Giza, because this wasn't slavery. So why does everyone believe the wrong version? Here's the mechanism. The alien myth emerged from racist assumptions. Eric von Daniken's 1968 book claimed ancient Africans couldn't possibly achieve architectural genius. It was easier to credit aliens than admit brown and black people built wonders. The slave narrative serves religious tradition. Sunday school taught Exodus as history. Hollywood dramatized it. The Ten Commandments became cultural fact. Never mind that Egyptian records contradict it. Both myths dismiss ancient Egyptian achievement. Both assume primitive people needed help, either from God's chosen slaves or from space visitors. Neither gives credit where it's due, to Egyptian engineers, workers, and organizational brilliance. This matters today because we still see conspiracy theories dismissing non-European civilizations. Claims that Africans couldn't build Great Zimbabwe, that indigenous Americans couldn't build Machu Picchu. Same racist playbook, same refusal to accept evidence. The truth? Ancient Egyptians were geniuses. They invented copper tools sharp enough to cut limestone, wooden sleds that moved multi-ton blocks, ramp systems engineers still study today. They organized 30,000 workers with clockwork precision, and they did it without slaves or UFOs. The receipts are overwhelming. Archaeological sites, ancient paperwork, scientific bone analysis, all pointing to the same conclusion. Paid Egyptian workers built the pyramids. Period. Subscribe to Ancient Receipts for more historical truth bombs. Which evidence convinced you most? Drop 1 for the workers' village, 2 for Merer's papyrus, 3 for the medical evidence. Hit the bell so you don't miss the next time we expose what everyone gets wrong about ancient history.